In fact, he would have made it to the other goal line if one of his own teammates would not have tackled him at the 1-yard line. Well, they end up having, they had the ball there. They didn't do very well. They had to punt the ball. The punt got blocked, and the other team got a safety. One of his teammates, again, who had tackled him was Bonnie Lam. And, of course, some of the players are probably a little frustrated at that. Well, after the second quarter ended, it came to halftime. And at halftime, the UCLA players filed into the field, or off the field, into the dressing room, the locker room. And as they began to sit down on the benches and sitting on the floor, Regal sat down in the corner, and he put his face into his hands. Now, a football coach usually has a lot to say at halftime, a lot of adjustments again being made, a lot of coaching things going on. That day, Coach Price was totally quiet. Didn't know what to say. And no doubt he was deciding what to do with Regals. Should I play him in the second half or do I bench him? Well, when the timekeeper came in to say that there were 3 more minutes before the game would start again, Coach Price looked at all of his team and he said to them, "Men, the same team that started the first half is going to start the second half." Players got up and they began to go out onto the field, all of them but Regals. Regals remained sitting in the locker room. Coach looked back and called to him, "Regals, you need to move, get going." Coach Price finally went over to him after he wouldn't budge, and the coach said to him, "Roy, didn't you hear me? You need to get out there. You're starting the second half." Roy Regals looked up, and his cheeks were wet with tears at this time. He said, "Coach, can't do it. Can't go out there. I've ruined you. I've ruined the college reputation. I've ruined my life. I can't go out there and face that crowd out there. There's just no way I can do it." Coach Price reached out his hand and put his hand on Regal's shoulder and said, "Roy, you need to get up and get on going out there. The game is only half over." Regals finally got up after a while, went out there, and he played his best half ever and worked as hard as he could. You and I find times in life where we need a halftime, where things are not going well. We've made mistakes in life, and we've just blown it terribly, and we need a fresh start. God provides half times for us, opportunities for adjustments in life. In fact, I look at every Sunday and every Wednesday as a halftime for my life. I need this time. You get out there in the world and things get crazy and busy, and it gets stressful. I believe this is a halftime. We can kind of just come into the presence of God, hopefully leave worries behind, and meet with God. That's what a halftime is all about, meeting with our coach, understanding the new plays and understanding that he believes in us and he desires for you to do greater things. For me, a halftime is always going to Lake Geneva Christian Center. Men's Advance is coming up. You know what? For me, that's halftime, because life gets busy and priorities get out of whack, and suddenly I get there and God meets me and he speaks to me in a way that I desperately need it. It's halftime. Halftime's not just if it's going well. Even if you're winning, you need halftime to regroup and do better. Let me share with you a couple of great halftime stories. USC versus Notre Dame on November 30th in 74. Notre Dame had a 24-0 lead just a minute before the halftime was coming up. USC scored just before halftime, but they missed the conversion, so they went into halftime behind 24-6. Coach McKay is quoted, he's the quarterback for USC, he's quoted as having said during halftime something like this. Again, they're behind 24-6. He said, "Gentlemen, if you block like you should, Anthony Davis will carry the second half kickoff back for a score, and we'll go on from there. Let's go." USC's Anthony Davis got the kickoff, beginning of the second half. He took that kickoff 102 yards for a touchdown. And that began their comeback. That day, the Trojans scored 55 unanswered points in only 17 minutes. And the Trojans won the game 55-24. Friends, you may feel like you're behind and like there's no way that you can make things successful in your life with God. You may feel like that, but God has a great second half in store for you. After that game, again, they're playing Notre Dame. Father Theodore Hesburgh, who is the Notre Dame president, He congratulated Coach John McKay after the game when he said this. I love this. He said, that wasn't a very nice thing for a Catholic to do. The coach on the other team was Catholic, and they beat Notre Dame. And